You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn live here on Business Talk Radio, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. I am your host and executive producer, and our show is all about stories of hope, inspiration, and overcoming adversity. With me today is a special person and friend. His name is Tom Guggino. Let's bring him on. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn.
It's a pleasure to see you. You're joining us from New Jersey today, correct?
That is right. A little town called Merchantville. Yep.
Love New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey also. Tom is the author of Present, Connect, Create, and Deliver presentations that capture, entertain, and connect to any audience. He also has many years of experience in the business world. He's a faculty member. He was a stand-up comedian, and he has so much to share with us. Let's get to it right away. Tom, how did you get started in your business journey?
Well, it all started, as you said, in show business. I was 9 years in show business and part of a comedy team called McAndrews and Gino. And we did sketches and improvisations. And for 9 years, I got to see how an audience reacts. And when you're doing comedy and they don't react, you know right away. So you better go to your dance. Yes, that's what it was. But we did the improv clubs in New York, the Comedy Store in LA, and also Las Vegas. And after that, then we came home, and I call it our normal looking period. We had 3 children, and I set up my own production company. And so I then produced over 400 commercials and did corporate videos. Wow. And I learned a lot about how to talk to specific audiences about your product and how you can narrowcast and speak to them directly. And so I learned a lot about self-interest and what an audience cares about. And while I was directing and producing, I realized that I was coaching people on camera, and I really liked that. So I really went more into coaching, and that's what I've been doing, and I really enjoy it.
What an interesting and diverse background. I have not interviewed anyone who is a stand-up comedian. So, and something that you mentioned, there's no worse feeling when you're there to watch someone perform their comedy routine and it totally is failing. It's just, oh my gosh. So what learnings did you have from that? I'm sure you were outstanding, but what were your learnings that you took away from stand-up comedy that really you parlayed into what you're doing today with coaching?
Yes, it was very interesting because you start to understand audiences themselves. And what we discovered was if they didn't know us, they didn't know if we were funny. And so my wife and I, who was part of the act, Deanie and I created an opening bit that was called The Dog. And I played an animated dog that she just sent to guard dog school. And she was now going to give me a test to see what I learned. And so coming on the stage as a dog, that kind of thing, really was big. And suddenly the audiences, relaxed. And you can almost hear them say, they're funny. This is going to be a good time. And I suddenly realized that if you understand the audience and their expectation, you can really use it to connect with them right away.
I love that. And how interesting that you worked with your wife in the routine and you dedicated your book to her. And your book was just published this year. Is that correct?
That's right. February of this year by Business Expert Press. Yes.
So you started your comedic career with your wife, and you guys are still together through all these different iterations, right?
Well, actually, my wife passed away about 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh,
sorry to throw that on you, but yes. But she was wonderful and really added a lot to my career. And that's why I dedicated the book to her.
Wow, that's very touching. And today, you and I met at the Union League, correct?
That is right.
It was just an incredible organization. But the coaching that you're doing, are there certain demographics of people that you typically work with? Are they business executives? Are they people who've recently graduated from college? What does that look like?
Well, actually, my client list is rather eclectic. And I coached a lot of architectural firms because they have to present in order to get the job. And so I would do individual coaching with them and also team coaching for a presentation that they were doing. I also do corporate executives, and it's part of a leadership program that they do. So I help them communicate the messages that they're going to do to the employees and also how they deal with their teams. And so I also have financial clients and people who want to learn how to communicate better. You mentioned students, and that has been a real joy for the last, I would say almost 5 years, that I coach all the doctorate students in their presentations in class. And also, when a client brings a project to our program, they then have to give all the information of the research back to the client. And I help them deliver that. And I also help them in defending their dissertations, which is just, I can't tell you the joy when someone actually gets their doctorate and you're a part of that. It's wonderful.
I have to say that I would agree with you, since I have my doctorate and I remember what it was like to go through that whole experience. I had to rewrite my dissertation 118 times.
Oh.
So the fact that you're helping people in that area is really tremendous. So I want to talk a little bit about your book. I read your book, and I have to say it's easy to read, and yet there are a lot of memorable takeaways from it. I like how you have a box with a leaf behind, so you can remember each chapter, the things that are important. And you talk about the importance of openings when you get up on that stage and you're going to present. Now we're actually behind the computer. So I'm wondering, how does an opening change during this Zoom COVID period as opposed to when you're actually standing in front of a large audience?
Well, actually, it doesn't change that much. I created the presentation process, which is 4 steps. And the first step is, who are you talking to? You have to know the audience that you're about to talk to so that you can customize and design your message for that audience. And whether it's in person or online, you still have to understand who it is you're talking to. And once you understand that and their expectations of what they think you're going to do, then you can create an opening. And an opening is based on what you believe is their expectation and self-interest. And it tells the audience in a sentence or two why they should listen. So right away, you are connecting with them from the beginning of when you talk. And then finally, in the preparation stage, that's when you go to your content. And you only prepare that content that you need to support your opening. So what that does is it cuts down on your preparation time. And then the last step is performance, because you're delivering the message both with your voice and your body. And you have to practice, and we call it putting it on its feet. So if you're going to design and customize your messages, which I suggest, you really have to know your audience and create that opening.
One of the examples that you gave in your book really resonated with me, and it was about preparation and how people think they can just show up to do a presentation and they haven't rehearsed. And you talk about joining a golf foursome, and you show up without any clubs, and the person's asking you, well, do you have your clubs with you? Well, no. Can I borrow yours? Yeah. Well, have you ever played golf before? No. So that was really a good story that I thought to myself, wow, I can really relate to that.
Yes, because I realized that you can't expect to be good at something if you haven't practiced it. And in our own lives, when you look at people, and I often ask them, what do you do for sports or a hobby? And they say, play golf. And that's where the story came from, that you wouldn't allow me into your foursome if I didn't have clubs. And if I've never played golf before, you wouldn't allow me. Nobody would. Or if you play tennis, how many times do you have to hit a backhand before you forget to think about it and it becomes a body habit? And anybody who wants to be good at something, even musicians, what they do is they practice the piece of music so much so they can forget it and simply play it. So when it comes to presentations, you have to put it on its feet. And that means that you have to practice it exactly the way, with the same energy that you would do it when you're actually performing it. Now, what is great about online and Zoom and all the other apps that happen, you can actually record yourself practicing. And then you can play it back and you can see what you're doing. And then you can determine your self-management advice to yourself about what you want to improve. And I think that is just a fantastic tool, because normally in my sessions, I would be videotaping my clients and then showing them how they're being perceived by other people. And we always want to have the internal perception of ourselves match the external perception of how people see us. And that's when we know that we are projecting the right message.
Tom, what type of feedback do you get from people after you record them and then you do the playback? What kind of, oh my gosh, was that really me, or I was horrible, or what do you usually hear?
Yeah, when I first show them, I always say, now listen, be kind to yourself, because no one likes to see themselves for the first time. Whatever you think is your weakness, facially or whatever, that's what you see. I mean, now when I see myself, I see cheeks, bunny cheeks, squirrel cheeks. And thank God that's not the way people perceive me. At least I hope they don't.
No, I didn't even know your cheeks. No.
Yes. And so I said, no, people see you as a full human being. They're not seeing just one item. So look at this as if you were perceiving yourself for the first time. And then they say, oh, my voice. Oh, gosh, my voice doesn't sound that good. And I said, that's right, because in your head, your voice reverberates and it sounds deeper than it is. But actually, when it's recorded, it sounds thinner. And then I show them voice exercises on how to talk with your diaphragm. For instance, most people, when they have a presentation, some of them talk with a conversation voice. And I'll do that. The conversation voice is this way. You're not pushing, and it's just relaxed, and it's in the back of your throat. But if I was to use my diaphragm, then suddenly I am projecting, and I sound so much better, and my voice has a bottom to it. And I always joke, too. I say, well, if you use your diaphragm to speak, you'll even look taller. And they always, yes, well, for me, it works. Yes, because I'm not that tall. But they start to understand that there are certain techniques that's necessary in order to deliver your message. And that's the whole point. Let's deliver your message in the best way you can.
Very well said. And we certainly, at least in my experience, can tell when someone is a professional as a presenter, where they've really taken the time to hone their craft. And you're that person, Tom.
Well, we call it, there's a presentation stance that I try to get my clients to do. And that is that every time you present, either to one person or to many, you take this stance, and that's what you do. Performers and comedians know what it is. And I try to develop within all of my clients a comfort zone. And a comfort zone is that zone where you're most relaxed and you're most yourself, your genuine self. And we all know that if I'm myself, then I am very relaxed. And once I'm relaxed, the audience senses that as me being vulnerable. And they love that. They just love people who actually present themselves. And then you can show your passion about what it is you really believe and you want to talk about. And it's interesting. I ask people all the time, what is your competitive edge? And, they'll say, resources or the company. But I say, no, it's you. You're the competitive edge. That's because nobody sees the world exactly the way you do. The way you see it is unique. And when you talk to an audience about your uniqueness, that makes you different. And audiences love that.
Wow, so many great tips that you just provided there. One thing that I want to get to, but we're going to take a break, is I want to talk about those jitter nerves that you have before you get to make a presentation. And for everybody out there watching on social media, please feel free to put something in the comments for Tom. He's very open to taking questions. Also, you can call in at 631-730-5468. We want to hear from you. So please pick up that phone or go to your Facebook page and type in a message at any one of our pages or groups. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back with Tom. Stay with us here on Business Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hi, and welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, live here on Business Talk Radio, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. My guest today is Tom Guggino, and he is the author of Present Connect. He's also a presentation and communication coach and a faculty member, a former stand-up comic. It goes on and on and on. So I love how you've packaged it all together. And I want to go back to talking about the presentation, regardless if it's over Zoom or in person, but those pre-jitter nerves that we get. What can we do to really diminish them?
Yes, and that's a good question, because a lot of people have what I call their self-talk that goes on a lot. And many times your self-talk will distract you. So when I tell people about positive body language, the mantra is to concentrate on what you're saying when you say it. You want to be fully present with the audience when you are talking to them. The pre-jitters that you just talked about actually is the nerves, the nervous energy that kind of builds up, and any performer feels that. And what you want to do is you want to challenge that energy into your performance. And before you get too jittery, sometimes you can just stand up and do something physical. You can shake, you can do your arms, you can do what you like just to relieve some of that energy that's building up. But usually when you first start talking, that's when they dissipate and go away. So concentrate, be present, and you can do anything physical to help those nerves before you talk.
And also be prepared.
Well, yes. And that's why it's important for you when you practice to do it with the same energy that you're going to have it when you actually present. And even online, it should be the same way. And you should practice, if you can, by recording yourself online and making sure that you look at it back so you can self-manage. That practice becomes very important. In fact, neuroscience have said that once we practice as if we have done it, what happens is the brain plays it back when we're doing it. So we're not doing it for the first time. And that takes a lot of the pressure off.
I can see how that would really dissipate the stress, because you know what you're going to talk about. You're focused on the audience and reading the audience. And I guess after those first few minutes, you can just really launch into it. So
Right.
how do we add humor? Do we have to be a stand-up comedian to be able to add humor into our presentation, Tom?
Well, no, actually, you don't. And you shouldn't be something you're not. When I coach people, I always want them to be within their own personalities. I never want them to be acting like someone else. Now, being a comedy writer, you have to hide a joke. You can't actually say, here's a joke. So if you do it as an observation, or if you do it as something that you came across and you just observed, that's easier, because if you don't get a gigantic laugh, you just move on. And you don't want to highlight it too much. And that's where some people do that, and it's problematic. And you don't want to do that. And usually story is very good. If you have a story, I find that stories are magical. And they just did some research out of Princeton, where Yuri Hansen, who is a neuroscience person there, and he has a talk on TED Talks, scanned people's brains. And as you listen to the storyteller, he also had 5 listeners. And what you discover while they were waiting for the story to begin, their brain waves were all different. And then suddenly, as the story began, suddenly all the brain waves of the listeners, they all matched. And it was amazing to know physically we're not only attracted to someone when they're telling a story, but we're actually matching our brain waves with them. And knowing that as a presenter is a tremendous sense of power and connection.
There is definitely something to be said about a good story.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you would do us the honor of reading us something from your book.
Sure. I'd love to. I believe that everyone has a power inside of them that they can use when presenting. A power that is intense and can demand the audience to look and connect with you. In performing, we call it flashing on the audience, which means to bring a burst of energy when performing. It's a feeling we get when we're in the audience and watching an actor, singer, or comedian that pulls us to them. It's that feeling you get when you see your favorite performer and suddenly time doesn't exist. That's the power everyone has. And now you can learn how to use it.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for reading that.
Yes, I really believe that too, that when you're your genuine self, amazing things can happen. And I do workshops all the time, and people present in the workshop and even online workshops. And it's amazing. After they're finished presenting, I asked them how they felt. And they said, oh, God, I was so nervous. I was shaking. And I said, really? And then I asked the audience that just heard them do the presentation. And to a person, everyone in the audience says, we didn't see that. No, we just listened to your presentation and it was great. And so I said to the person, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take credit that you're a good presenter, because what you were sensing inside was not being projected to the audience. And therefore, they enjoyed your presentation. And many of us believe that we're going to be found out if we present, or somehow we're going to be shamed, or people will know who we really are, and that's scary. The interesting thing about that is everyone is interested in themselves, their own self-interest. And when you're listening to a presenter, you give them 20, 30, 45 seconds maybe. And if you don't like them, you know what we do. Our own self-talk starts, and we start thinking about our business. Oh, I have that appointment. Yeah, I got that luncheon date. And it isn't the fact that you judge the presenter, you ignore them. So I always tell my clients, the problem is not that they're going to judge you. The problem is they're going to ignore you. And you don't want that to happen. So let's have you connect from the first time you talk.
And I think it goes back to that monkey brain, right? That tape recorder that just goes round and round. I remember I decided to speak and give the eulogy at my dad's funeral, and it was 11 minutes long, and I had rehearsed it, and I had an iPad, and my knees were slamming into the podium. They were shaking so badly, and I was literally holding on because I thought I was going to pass out, and no one knew. Which is just...
No. And that's because we're so interested in ourselves, but also the fact, I often call us heat-seeking self-interest missiles, that all day long we just go along looking for what interests us. And it's just amazing that if you really understand that people are not judging you, it relaxes people immediately. And then when you actually concentrate on the audience and you become one with the audience, magical things happen all the time. And I've seen it, and it's really terrific. In fact, when we used to perform at the Comedy Store, you couldn't get close to the bathroom because it was showtime, and all the comedians were in there going crazy. And these are people who perform every night. And it was just amazing to watch that, yes, you have jitters. Yes, you have energy. But it's what you do with them. And that's what's important.
That's amazing. We have a Facebook user comment. You were a rock star. So I don't know who that's from, but I'm sure Tom thanks you.
Oh, I do. Now, I do play guitar and I am in a band, but we do folk and blues. We don't do rock.
So where do you find time for all of these things?
Well, it's all part of wanting to contact with people and also the passions that you have. Music is amazing because it connects on a whole different level. And I love it because music doesn't come naturally to me the way comedy does. So I really have to practice music till I don't think of the chords and I don't think of, where I put my hands and all that. You just sing the song. And I tell my clients all the time, presenting is very, very similar. You internalize it. So I have techniques to help people internalize their message so they're not keeping the entire presentation in their heads. I show them how to do a talk track. And a talk track is the major ideas that you have and the link from one idea to the next, to the next, to the next. So all you keep in your head is the major ideas, and that's a talk track. And all you need is the transition from one idea to the next. And it works.
It sounds kind of like a 3x5 card in your head, and there's one topic. Is it similar to that?
It is. And however you want to do cue sheets for yourself works. In fact, in Zoom, if you have to really do a presentation, you can put cue sheets behind your screen. No one sees that, and you can just take a glance up, and you got it. And you can then relax that you don't have to keep the whole string in your head. And that makes you concentrate on what you're saying when you say it.
And another thing, just thinking about glancing behind your computer screen, where should we be looking on our computer? Do we look at the person or do we look up at the green light?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because really Zoom, and people don't realize, it's television. And having directed a lot in television, you learn about what the camera sees. So right now I'm talking to you and I'm looking directly into camera. And that appears as if I'm talking directly to you. And it's all about eye contact, because that's what we look at. And when you see someone, you're usually in a face-to-face conversation, you're looking at their eyes. And that's how you make the contact. Now, if I look down and suddenly I'm looking at the picture of the other person and I'm talking to them there, then the camera sees it and it doesn't look like I'm connected to you. And so what you want to do is look directly into the camera. And you can imagine a face if you would like. But anyone who has done television knows what I'm talking about, that that's where the audience is. And then when you start to project to the camera, believe it or not, it becomes real. And you then forget about yourself and you actually start talking and you become mindful and present, which is wonderful. So when I coach leaders in business, that's a big item, because they're constantly communicating with employees and their team. And so many times they are giving secondary messages that they don't want to show because they're not looking at them and they don't look engaged. And once I start coaching them and they become relaxed in their comfort zone, you see them suddenly become who they are, somebody who really cares and somebody who really wants to hear from somebody else. The other thing is, and I wrote an article about this on my website, is that you don't want to have the Zoom become a zombie. And that's where you are very still and you don't move and you're just listening. Well, that's not the cues we give when we're listening. When we're really listening to somebody, we shake our heads like, yes, oh, of course. Oh, I got that. That's funny. And that's the response you want that we do in face-to-face that you ought to do when you're virtual. And remember what you do and try to incorporate that when you're online. It'll really help. And you can imagine how people then will respond to you because they feel you're really talking to them. And that's the secret.
And it sounds like it's all about making a real connection.
Yes, it is. And making that connection, and you don't fake it because people are not actors. So it has to be sincere. When I'm looking at you and I'm not thinking about anything else, you can read it in my eyes. There's a certain light that happens when we are connected. Now, I'll think of something else and you'll see the light go away. Watch. So, Dr. Jacalyn, it's really a pleasure being here on your show. Well, you don't believe that for a second.
I'm like, he can't wait to get off of here.
Who is that? And immediately you get the sense that I'm not talking to you. And I love it when parents try to talk to their children. And when my kids were small, I remember taking my oldest and holding his chin. So I said, eye contact, so I know that you're listening to me. Yes. And it's very important because kids can't hide it. They can't. I love them. I absolutely adore them. Yes.
What's next for you?
Well, I really like coaching. I can tell you the thrill when I'm coaching someone. And I also coach foreigners who've been in our country maybe for a year and they don't know the language. And I had this one person who was really struggling. And because the country they came from, that was their first language. And so they would interpret in their minds and then speak. And it was very difficult. So what we did for him is to internalize his message so that when he started to talk, he didn't have to translate. And it was amazing how he relaxed and suddenly he was himself. And so his team thought it was wonderful and even came to him for advice. And it was terrific. So that's really in the direction where I would like to go, is help people and help groups that way and share with them what I've learned as a performer and as a director, and how to simply say, it's okay. You're going to do this. And not only that, but you're going to have fun. And that's what I believe.
And that's what it's all about. And I have to say, Tom, from having met you and having had lunch with you, which was a great time, we just had so many laughs. Yeah. You are just a truly authentic, caring, considerate person who not only are you so successful and you've had such an amazing career and have such an amazing career, but you really care about people. And that comes through even across this StreamYard, that I just know that you just have this incredible passion and desire to help people be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. And you know, you hit the secret. The secret is don't act, be yourself, and really do care. And many times as a mantra, before I start to do a workshop or a presentation, the mantra I say is, how can I help them? Because I want to forget about myself and concentrate on who I'm talking to. And when you do that and people get the sense that you're really talking to them, oh man, you can lead people, you can motivate, and you can inspire. And it's all because you really care, and that's what you project.
And we know that you really do care. And I've just loved having you on our program. I want to have you on another one of our programs, but I'll get to that in a minute. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, to A, purchase your book, and B, to hire you for coaching?
Yes, I think one of the best ways is to go to the website for the book, which is presentconnect.net. And on there, you can see excerpts from the book. You can see my blogs. You can even see video of when we performed in show business. Our act is up there. You can see that, and other interviews that I have done. And you can also purchase the book if you would like from there. There's a connection, and you can purchase it on Amazon and also at Walmart. So yeah, and the other way is if you would like to email me, you can email me at my company is GPI Communications. So you can email me at GPI_communications, plural, at Comcast.net. And I'll get it.
And what a great opportunity to purchase this book for a holiday gift, right? As we get rid of this 2020, we move into 2021, pick up a copy of this book and help somebody, because there's a lot of really great information that's in here.
Yeah, in fact, everybody's Thanksgiving was virtual yesterday, and how you performed in front of your family determine if they think you're okay.
That's so true. So Tom, my question for you is, we have a new variety show that is starting next week, and I would love to have you do your comedy and your music. What do you say?
Oh, let me think about that. That's a wonderful invitation. Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate that. That is so kind of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate having you on the program today. You're just so full of light and energy, and that's what this program is all about. So it's been a real pleasure having you here. Please pick up one of Tom's books. Also go to his website, presentconnect.net. And you're on LinkedIn also, if somebody wants to reach out to you that way. So any final words for our audience today?
Yes, have fun, because fun is all around you. And in these times when we always have to, not see people we love and really hunker down, have some fun. And remember, even though you wear a mask, people can still see your eyes and you can still smile. It's okay.
That is so true. You can tell when people are smiling.
Yes.
Well, my friend, thank you so much. I will meet you backstage. I'll be there in a couple of minutes. I really appreciate you being a guest on the program, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. See you in a couple minutes. We have another comment here. It says, thank you. So another Facebook user is out there watching, but I don't know who it is. So thank you for watching. I just want to say thanks, as always, to our viewers and to our listeners on Business Talk Radio. You're the reason why we keep coming back with wonderful guests like Tom. I also want to thank Chris Roberts, who is our broadcast engineer who takes us out over the airwaves. And my heartfelt thanks to all of you who are taking interest in the program. Our program keeps growing, and we really appreciate that. If you would like to be a guest or a sponsor on one of our programs, we now have 4 programs on Business Talk Radio, and I can't be any more thrilled. And I thank you so much. Please take care of yourself, be kind to one another, and remember what Tom said. Try to have fun, try to enjoy your life, and try to be kind to other people, because this is all we have, right? So let's make the best of it and realize there's so much to be thankful for. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Hi, I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm the executive producer and host of the Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn programs. My programs are on RVN TV, Business Talk Radio, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. I'm also the morning host of Tuesday Morning Coffee on RVN TV. I'd like to invite you to be a guest on one of my programs, as well as consider sponsorship. Your sponsorship can include a custom-made commercial designed for you by the Dr. Jacalyn team, or you can use one of your own commercials. You have the opportunity to promote your brand, your book, or even a cause that's near and dear to you. You can reach out to me at Jacalyn@drjacalyn.com or through my website, drjacalyn.com. Thank you. I'd love to have you on my team.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.